It was going to be bad on the second phase.
Reference it. Do you remember the fact that Griffin's losses in their debut split of summer was a lot of letting things slide a second time? A lot of, this fun illusion, let's do it again.
Trying it again,
They could have banned Vayne very easily. I think giving LeBlanc to Genji does nothing. I think gives them nothing. Because it's not a pick they've shown any aptitude on.
Can play Zoe versus
Zoe was the obvious
LeBlanc.
thing to go here. This is the adjustment I was going to predict, but I'm more interested in the past point because it does seem like Griffin are just sticking with something stubbornly. This is what I wanted to see. Drop the Corki, go Zoe. Good matchup into Lissandra. The picks you can get with this are much more reliable than just having a damage dealer mid. Obviously, they would prefer to go Aurelia because you can take over a side lane. Turns out, you can't have everything you want. You already lost to Genji, so there aren't going to be big adjustments. Take the Zoe, we like that. This will be a different game. But the cost is still a Vayne, who, yes, if she falls behind, gets killed in Trouble Bubble and maybe even just the passive, let alone the Paddle Star. But the best case scenario, we already saw in game number 1.
It's very true. And what else is Griffin going to mix up here? They ended up taking Rise as well as the, I'm trying to look here, the Nocturne as the last two picks for jungle and top in game number 1. Already a bunch of jungle and top champions going to be banned out here. Olaf and Jarvan, that's going to be another mix-up. They're going to deny that away from Peanut.
Last pick jungle is our heavy expectation. That is how Griffin roll usually on the red side. Aatrox is their usual blind jungler, it's banned. So it'd be a change from them that we'd have to think about if it wasn't last pick jungle. Still, of course, could be something else. We're going to wait and see what Griffin want to approach. I want Genji to not allow themselves to fall behind on priority top. They really would love to get a priority laner, and that's the only reason you would take jungle here, is that you'd be scared of losing the priority top. The reason why I say that is it's Vayne, and of course Vayne can go really bad in the early game when it comes to having any sort of relevance. The game gallops past her, she's kind of left in the dust, even with 2 items. So you would want something strong into the Rise. It's probably just going to be Nico again. They're rolling back almost everything on the side of Genji. Now, Hecarim top and Hecarim jungle can be considered. And it's strong against Zoe because you just dive in and she's going to be unable to actually choose her target, but I think it's too bold for professional play. Solo queue's actually too strong. So blind jungle pick for Peanut. Lee Sin is up. I think you just take Lee Sin here. It's the safest choice.
Zach's another one for him.
But that is a wait-and-see champion, and you already have a wait-and-see AD carry, and what if Zach gets invaded like so many Zachs have historically, and Vayne never gets her items? That's the worry I see. What will the jungle choice be from Tarzan? He can go physical or magic damage. Jungler here, physical would actually be a bit more prioritized because they have a lot of magic damage, but he wants to punish. What is his punishment choice? It's the most punishment choice. He's going Xin Zhao. He's saying this game ends before 3 item Vayne.
Tarzan taking things into his own hands, saying I'm going to be the one to speed this game up a little bit, like the choice with that last pick jungle, like the Nico.
And that was what I was focusing on, don't lose priority top, but then they went for the least priority or the least presence jungler around it, and that is bold, because now it was a very obvious target. They got a lot out of last pick jungle. If you take Lee Sin as the pick on the blue side, then Griffin say, Rek'Sai's got the good matchup, we could get that. But now it's, I'm waiting for late game team fight jungler versus I'm going to attack you as much as possible. This is the most bold choice they could have taken, and they don't play a lot of Xin Zhao to Griffin, even when it was in the middle of the meta. So this is bold and then some choice coming through when it comes to jungle picks, but it also is a fallback champion for Peanut. He wants to find some confidence, and he has had a lot of good performances historically on the Zach.
Certainly he has, and maybe just hoping that Griffin once again kind of lull themselves to sleep, but very hard to do that when you have a Xin Zhao, and Tarzan's not a guy to pick Xin Zhao and then say, yeah, I'm just going to sit back and farm. It doesn't sound like something Tarzan would actually do. So Griffin here wants to make a statement and get in the face of Genji this time around.
But this is the epitome of what we think of as patch 9. Patch 9 cycle, the 2019 meta. They have a comp that hits super hard. They have Pick CC in all 3 lanes and a way earlier power spike when it comes to both their AD carry and their jungler. This comp should annihilate Genji pre-30. But the what if for Gen G fans is if they look up and it reads 35 minutes, something's gone really right. I think I heard
Feels like
some desperation there.
Yeah, just a little bit from the fans on the side of Griffin, really trying to rile everybody up. As, of course, we're on the Griffin side this time around, as Griffin are on red, and so are the English casters on the red side here.
Gen G was able to get desperation out of the Griffin fans. That's something that has happened. Timestamp it. It happened in this series, and it was so well deserved. And Griffin responded by, honestly, doing nothing when it comes to the change. They still ban LeBlanc, left the Vayne up, it's a first round Vayne, but they just lost to it, right? And then Lissandra was left open. Of course it will be first picked from the side of Gen G, and you might say, yes, Zoe has a good matchup, but also Fly doesn't have fallback champion. These are the things that I always get on my VOD reviews is things happen and it's easy to blow them off on surface level thoughts, but if you go deeper, you're like, but wait, they didn't actually have anything else, and yet they got to play what they've shown they can play. And now, yes, Gen G have gone even further and have gone for a very obvious, this comp in the early game is going to be in a super, super struggle. But the what if is out there, and we know the what if is real. We're not lying to you. Gen G could win this series.
Certainly could happen. It's going to be on the back of Ruler once again. Seems like he's very comfortable in this position, going for the Vayne. Once again, he will. As you can see, so far already, Toby trying to lay down some wards and get some more information on that Zach, so they could begin to put on the pressure in the bottom, or in the jungle.
In case you were wondering, QV was just trying to fish for there being some sort of deep vision there, just opening up on a champion that is the Vayne, of course, in the disguise of Nico, just trying to play the mind games on the enemy. My favorite mind game with Nico is level 1, copying your jungler and then trying to show that the jungler is starting top or invading when in fact he's not. But also have to respect the crazy power of Galio level 1, just like a Braum level 1. You can't just rush into a brush as Nico impersonating Zac. You could still be turned on. So because of that, we're going to watch the pathing from Tarzan. Remember, Tarzan's job this game is to win it himself. And you know what? He's had some games like that recently, as we know. But Xin Zhao goes hard or goes home, and that is, in fact, the storyline of this game. Peanut is just saying, how many cams can I get? And so far, the answer is going to be 3, as he's going for the safe level 3 of red buff Raptors. He doesn't go for the full bot side play, which is how he's been able to play this before, and now he can actually power farm top side, and he will now get the confirmation that the Xin Zhao won't be punishing him. This, of course, was a very common path, was starting walls and then power farming blue and the Gromp at the same time. It's because with Smite, you can take down both camps and leash both of them, and you don't get a reset on them. And this was something that junglers grew to always counter jungle on if they expected it.
Yeah.
This path is a very unexplored one. I have not seen red Krugs into top full clear, leave Raptors up. But it's also Xin Zhao, whose Raptor clear is not, say, Kane levels of speed. So I think it's actually very smart by Peanut.
The other small point was that, I'm not sure if Gen G saw it, but there was a ward on the blue Raptors. And Griffin actually question marked pinged to the Raptors and said, hey, he didn't do Raptors. That's a little bit weird, so.
But then Xin Zhao didn't invade blue, and that's a disconnect, right? Because if he's
really
not at Raptors, he's definitely power farming blue and Gromp. This is not dark techniques. This is a very known power farm thing that you can do with specifically Zac and 1 or 2 other AoE junglers.
Yeah, that means that Peanut, outside of the 2 scuttles that he was never going to get against Xin Zhao, he's going to get everything pretty much. Unless Toby can steal this, which he's not going to. Peanut having a very nice time here in the early game.
Xin Zhao's Zoe, remember, as well. Zoe has faster ability to respond with certain trouble bubbles. Now, this is not game over, because remember, they should know pretty much now, camp for camp, the order that Peanut took, so contesting at the respawn is still an opportunity for 2-3 points in the W Xin Zhao to return to. So we'll see where the lane priorities are when those respawns come in. Krugs comes in, and even just Peanut getting 2 rounds of Krugs is more than he probably should be getting. So I would say, big advantage Gen G so far, even if you look at the top and say, Pop Smithy, it's 200 gold lead to Griffin. Think about how this game could have gone and how it probably should have gone with Griffin's drop.
Going for the Krugs right away means that definitely one of the harder camps for the Xinjiao to get all the way into that jungle and contest on in there. And as you mentioned, he's going to want to contest eventually, but where are you going to go? I guess suppose the next time will have to be the next blue buff. We'll see if they do make some plays around that buff.
So it's out of mana. Looking for a recall timing here. So no excitement there. Well, for once I'm not tilted by Redemption mid lane. Didn't look like the biggest one ever from Zoe.
Good for wave clear. Get the Chovy Zoe out on the map too.
Here we go. So they're invading, but the timing is off.
They're late.
The observers here showing that it's back to the full top clear. Very surprising that Griffin seemed pretty unsure about things, but invading at that timing does give them the kind of temporary control ward that is the Ghost Burrow. They're going to get a Mountain Drake. Not something that Gen G can be stoked about, but they should feel really good that the farm is so healthy on the Zac. We've seen so many games, both with Peanut in them and not, that have gone very differently.
The only thing they really could have hoped for was a worse Drake, perhaps. It's going to be Mountain into Mountain, which, again, is going to be pretty nice for Lucian Rise, at least. Peanut really hoping for a play up in the top side, especially with Cuvée here at level 6, but will not happen, and now it's the Zac invading the Xinjiao.
Peanut's pathing. Again, it's been a thing to lament, thing to make fun of in 2019.
Perfect timing here.
But this is really good pathing from him. Raptors is not a camp. AoE camps is not Xinjiao's bread and butter. Yes, he can do them with points in his W, but it's not what he falls back on. He doesn't get the Krog steal, but he does get a nice camp steal. So a couple of camps behind. I imagine that's because 3 scuttles. It's kind of 3 scuttles down on the enemy, but otherwise, everything's going fine for Peanut. And by the first time he meets the enemy jungle, he'll have another note button in his ultimate to potentially be used to skip over a wall and not give up an early kill.
Chovy here with the cleanse is going to be pretty safe up against any shenanigans that, level 6, Zac and Lissandra can do. Trying to look for any other lane that they could go into and potentially get a gank off on.
So we called out
would be hard.
Gen G's comp early game and the fact that Griffin really drafted against it, but that's an on-paper analysis point. We look at this game and say, actually early game was Vayne going CS with CS with Lucian, and Zac doing way better than expected. So that means that analysis is now garbage. It's thrown out. It doesn't matter. The early game went way better for Gen G. So let's talk about the Zac pick and what it does provide. Gen G, just like the previous game, have Vayne and Nico. 3-4 items, those are gods of damage in an AoE on the Nico, much more single target on the side of Cuvée, and then they have multiple note buttons and temporary tankinesses and zones for ruler to hard carry.
Here we go.
And then moments like this.
Lands the E and Sword. Doesn't look like Cuvée wants to overcommit to that one. Also, a little bit cautious about that Rise damage, but a pretty good trade as Sword is out of mana with no TP. Cuvée gonna take the lead in this lane.
This looks like a game where Gen G hard win as the game goes on, Valdez, in a big, big way. Consider what happens here as it goes on. His rule is just gonna be fake up top, still Cuvée. The fact that the name bar changes and I default to using that as a little warning there is annoying, but he gets a turret play in the matchup. But Valdez, how do you get to Vayne when Lissandra self-ults, Zac as a champion has so much AoE threat, Cuvée has the self-ult as well, or just the Pop Blossom in general, and Braum is disengaged as well. They don't have a lot of hard engage, because Zac kind of wants to get in but also peel, but they also have engage at times, and if they get first to a Baron like they did in game number 1, this could actually be some real warning signs for Griffin.
You don't want to lose your first series to Gen G. Nothing against Gen G, but they're in 9th place right now. If you were going to lose the series, SKT, that would have been a good one to lose. Maybe even, drop an extra game to Sandbox or something like that. But up against Gen G, that would not be a good look. Maybe they were over-preparing for the SKT series, came in here a little bit sleepy, and Gen G just have their day. Would be a really nice story if they could actually pull this off.
I think it would say a lot about Griffin, though, because Gen G had their game. Game number 1, yes, you can be surprised by things, but there's no surprise by their second game. That means that Griffin needs to punish it, otherwise there were problems of their own creation.
Life gonna be slept up here. Here comes Lehans, but immediately dropped into the wall as Ruler says no. The zone version of the no button gets that Galio away.
This series could easily have been, all right, Gen G, we see what you did, ban. That's not what happened in this game number 2.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's different here, and that's the sort of thing that other teams could potentially prey on. The VOD review from CV Max already confirmed to be a loud one, where he gets furious.
Yeah, certainly a spicy one.
2 points into tumble is something to mention. W Max for Vayne, ever since the changes where tumble having the shorter cooldown early meant that putting extra points in it was less necessary, means that Silver Vault's max almost always a thing. Just for a little bit more skipping around. And speaking of skipping around...
Oh, baiting that one. Just that small step forward, and you can see immediately the trigger pulled here for Peanut. They already get the flash away from Jovi now.
If I'm on stream, I pause and I tell my stream, the first defensive flash was blown by Gen G and not by Griffin. When you look at these team comps and the earliest power spike, just the fact that Zach got a flash before Zin is a critical problem.
Yeah. Very true. I mean, at least in game number 1 as well. Like, the Nocturne was doing stuff in the big game, made a lot of those team fights go in Griffin's favor, but Xinjiao was here to put a stop to the early game jungling of the Zac, did not do that. And if we get to 20-25 minutes, what exactly is Tarzan going to be able to do on this pick? Die. Is another question. That's what you would assume, right? Die a lot and do a lot of nothing. And now, well, He's looking for this play, gets the knock up here. Cube in a bit of trouble, but nice flash over the wall. Here comes Sword though, Pop Blossom, gotta save him for now. As the Q does miss, but finally First Blood does come in as finally Tarzan finds a kill.
I needed one for sure on the side of Griffin. Very hard for Cube to do anything there. I like the ability to go over the wall. He gets 2 for 1 in flashes, but no more. Speaking of flashes, see that Zac is opening up, kind of waiting on threats. You couldn't really commit more numbers because they weren't close enough, and remember Galio would get first roam topside, so it wasn't an inevitability of a death, but the Rift Herald inevitability, that's not necessarily there.
Peanut runs straight at Xinjiao. Is going to be able to hop away here, but the TP comes in from the Nico. They're going to engage on the Toby. They get that ultimate off the cleanse. Already used. Can they take him out? Yes, they can. As Zac in the passive, can he get away and fly here? Out of mana too. Peanut will be going down, and now Cube and Life are on the run here.
Where are they going,
get
though?
Away.
They can't get to the blast plant.
Looks like Life gonna try to get out of this one, but Tarzan will have his number.
That's not the right ruse, he's dead. They know he's dead. But yeah. Peanut, now it's Peanut. Who's next on the escape? The little Zac's so cute.
Yeah.
Aww.
I want to hear him attack something. The audio is funny too. He does get away, does the Nico, as, well, they stopped the Rift Herald at least, and that would have been great timing for Tarzan to get a kill, to get the Rift Herald and get some plates, but he only gets the kill in the end.
So, confirmation, of course, is gotten most easily by doing damage to Nico, and it was pretty obvious that Cuvée was there. They take down the kill. You can't send more resources, A, because they're not close enough, and if you TP in, Galio comes in first and you die. So that was the start. That was the 1 for 0. A little bit later, the button's still present. Peanut walks too far up here, but doesn't die. So this could have just been the end of proceedings, and a 1 for 0 is going to be the most, but the Rift Herald was what they were fighting for in the biggest possible way. It's why Peanut was still around. The 1 for 1 is pretty decent, and the Rift Herald doesn't go down.
Yeah.
So do consider, it's 2 for 1, but not a Rift Herald. So for the scaling team, it's not an ultra disaster that a 3 for 1 would represent. And if you go 1 for 1 when you have outscale, it's just pure advantage to Gen G. So overall, it sucks, but it could have sucked way more.
Can they get the Lucian here? Viper just flashes away from that one. Looked like he didn't have his dash available. And so Peanut just hanging around the map, getting flashes all around the place as Fly going to be out-traded as Griffin looked down the barrel of their second Mountain Drake.
Definitely a frustration, because this is a Drake that provides a lot of invisible power when all the clear power was with Gen G as the game goes on. Now their setups around Baron and Elder Dragon will be more relevant because you got to be there 20 seconds earlier, or you're so scared of the speed at which even just Xinjiao and Lucian are going to be unleashing damage. And if Rise and Zoe can use their mana bar on Baron or the Elder Dragon, they will do some scary things too. Third Drake, which is closer to Gen G being online, is Cloud, which will be a bit lower in terms of priority, but still relevant. We already know about how much kiting Rule is going to be needed to do, so some combat movement speed coming stat.
Wouldn't be half bad. as we always got to keep our eye on the bottom lane here, on the main lane, if you will. As Ruler, once again, 0-0-0 is not half bad, especially if you're going even in CS with Illusion, who's a big lane bully. Things going well, at least in the early game, the first 15 minutes for the Vayne.
It's all happening, Valdez. It's all happening here in this game number 2. It's a fun one between the teams of Griffin and Gen G. Early game going nice and quiet. Griffin already had one go at this Drake. And the Rift Herald respawns, and it seems like Gen G, they're not in position to contest. They know their scaling is later, so while you never feel great about this trade, you take any trades that are close to 50-50, so Gen G take the gold around all of them.
There's no more plates anymore, so Tarzan can't really push that one in. And take a look at who has more plates in this game. It's actually Gen G, 2 of them in the top lane, going over to Cupé. And just 1 in the bottom side, actually, on the Vayne lane. So really nice there for Gen G to get ahead in terms of that gold. Of course, the gold lead does go the way of Griffin overall, but it is still a small one here, only about 700-800.
And a good indicator that the early game comp didn't really hit where they wanted to hit. Because if you have as many advantages as Griffin had stacked up, you would assume you could also put in at least a 3 or 4 turret plate lead. So turret plate disadvantage means this game is much more honest at 16 minutes than otherwise should have been possible.
Definitely is true. Peanut stays alive up against that Qingdao, and I liked what he was doing on the Jarvan, especially in the late game. He kind of just threw his face into the pile. He was like, well, all I have to do is have that temporary tankiness you were talking about. Just ult the front line, make the Rise, the Corki attack me, while Ruler sits in the back and takes away a lot of that damage, as nobody's really attacking him.
Know your role is an important thing as a jungler, and Peanut probably came in much more bullish about how aggressive he could play on the Gen G lineup to address some of the old issues this lineup has always had, and that didn't work out. But you're right, he knew his role there, and now he's on Zac duty, and it's a very similar champ, but even better on the amount of tankiness in a team fight. He's gotten away, and his smart path things as a player has opened up a pretty even jungle matchup, and he's feeling good about where the game's going, so hats off to Peanut. An adjustment in play style, but it's been an effective one.
2-on-2 here in the river. Peanut not going to opt into that trade. Still down a level on this down. Just 2-0-1. 100% kill participation so far for Tarzan, even if it took him a little while to get things going.
Although nice and bold, happy to just tumble into Galio. He has cleanse, which hasn't cost him in the lane trades, and Lucian actually has healed this game. Remember last game against a similar duo, might have been the same duo, I forget. It was the teleport, and we saw the Galio just straight up die.
Same duos.
And it was the same duos, so got the confirmation on the support there. Now he adjusts to heal, but isn't getting a CS lead from going for a combat summoner, so he has less utility in terms of the 2v2.
Oh, here we go. They're going to find Viper, and that should be a definite knockup from the Braum on the 2 of them. And Ruler's going to get the 1 kill. Really nicely played by Gen G to get things going on their Vayne.
No sighting on the Zac, able to get in there and take down the kill. And it goes the side of Gen G. Looking for more here, but Lehans can punish.
Oh, really nice taunt on a 3. Here comes Tarzan, but he gets stunned up. Might be able to get life here. He does. Peanut on the escape.
Chovy.
And Chovy actually do it. Is going to miss that one and will not try to follow up, but they get the 1 kill into a push in the top lane.
Flashes are used. Cuvée had his teleport, but is called away from it. Fly also does not teleport topside. It was hunting season for Griffin. They're not going to find as many kills they want, but they do stop the advance of Ruler.
They do for now, and let's see how much damage they can get on this top side too. It looks like 1 more charge. Peanut hanging around here. See if they do engage onto this one. No knock up there, but a bit of damage goes out. They do save that turret in the end.
Outnumbering the Gen G duo allows them to curtail the amount of free gold that's piled onto Ruler. He can't wave clear in an outnumbered scenario or even even scenario. If Rift Herald is there, he provides almost nothing when it comes to stopping his advance. So they make it a very long top lane for Gen G. Definitely allows them to get a lot of Baron vision in this case. You were pointing out that QSS is taking for a bit more insurance here. Nice opening on the players. level 9 has been hit, so Peanut is able to come from interesting angles. But I like how Griffin further played this. Put all your tools into stopping Ruler from getting turret kills, from getting any further gold involvement in the early game, and delaying the time that he has 2 items in his combat ready.
Really love what Peanut does there on the escape. Actually saves Ruler, but I'm going to hold that thought here as the Cloud Drake. They're really committing to this one. In goes Tarzan, though, looking for the steal. He's not going to get it. They get the stun here onto the Xingdao 2. Nice little stopwatch. In goes Toby, trying to hit some targets. Can't quite do it. Cube and Ruler still alive in this one. Haven't found a kill just yet. A sword with a massive shield, but he is going to go down in the end as Ruler will pick up the kill on the backside.
Snowball QSS gets him the first kill, and you see a preview of how fights will go before the items are there for Gen G. Their bark, it's pretty scary, but the bite isn't there yet for Gen G. They need 2-3 damage items on Nico and Vayne. But the spacings, how the fight played out, is a preview, and they even get that kill to further accelerate Ruler, whose 550 gold bounty keeps stacking up. Watch the replay here, and remember what we've said. Zac, Lissandra, Braum are about building space for Nico and Vayne to do damage. Only Blade is done on both these carries, no Rage Blades. They will want fights where their tanks can allow them to stack Rage Blade, and the moment Rage Blade is stacked, they just unleash godly damage. They are, in fact, the Shinigamis we talked about in game number 1. Not yet, though. They're still in training, but I think that training might take, and if it takes to the fullest extent, Griffin gonna have a lot of pain to consider.
We take a look at some of the damage in the last team fight. You see that Nico not quite up there just yet, as Sword was trying to go 1v5 towards the end, did a lot of bouncing damage, but more importantly, Vayne, after that fight, I saw she's ahead by 1,300 gold already over the Lucian. It's pretty insane, and what costs around 1,300 gold, Papa? You're pointing at it. It's the QSS. She already has Cleanse, but she wanted another one.
And it's the nightmare scenario for any first-time Vayne of Cleanse and QSS. So you got to press your actives while tumbling off cooldown. But in Ruler we trust is the Gen G way. This is how this team plays. He's got the ability to outplay Ryze and Zoe in a team fight, which is just not how the champions usually stack up. Now, Brittle behind him will still take the damage impacts, but if those tanks are on point, and those Captain Jack QSSs are on point as well, with 2 of them and hitting your damage on time, that sounds like a Ruler carry to me.
That it does. A bit of extra MR as well. Didn't take it in game 1, even though Corki does mostly magic damage anyway, but there's still a ton of magic damage, especially with Ryze and Zoe this time around. So.
The adjustment is, think of what we've said about the Zoe LeBlanc mid lane matchup of, well, if you hit the bubble, you win it, therefore it's better for Zoe because of where it's going. Zoe and Ryze both have buttons that erase a Vayne from a team fight. And you've got an ability for both of those. And yes, it'll take some damage behind it, but if everyone else is fulfilling their role, he now has an answer. The increased hit. QSS does nothing against Corki. You just die 0.1 seconds slower. It does a lot against what Zoe provides, so I do like the adaptation.
And he has so much gold now that he does finish his Rage Blade anyway at around 23 minutes. Here we go, as Nico, once again, a little bit behind as it was in game number 1, but she's slowly making her way towards that item, and as I say that, she completes it on her back.
I was actually admiring how many units away that Trouble Bubble was from at least forcing one of those cleanses early. So there are the 2 on-hit items. Easy analysis at home. If it's a long fight, Genji's got it. Griffin have to burst, but that's before the burst items we noticed in game number 1, the double IE carries are there. So they got to be good about their timings, get a ward lead, I would say, from Griffin. Look at their confidence, say they play in narrow areas of the map, say around a Baron or an entrance, really, really reliably. In open areas, more easy for Genji to buy some time.
This is why I'm laughing, because I was just watching Life basically just follow right on the tail of Ruler the entire game this time around. I think that's basically his job, right? Especially when you do have a Vayne. Sometimes the supports like to get unleashed, as Lehens did in game number 1, but you absolutely know that Life knows where his bread is buttered in this game, and he's going to be right next to the Vayne the entire time.
Zac is happily in vision, charging up Elastic Slingshot to get this down, get the mid lane turret down. Genji with Vayne, Nico, Lissandra get the first outer turret in mid. A consequential point of how they want to play out this game. The areas in where Griffin are strong are in the skirmish early game. Didn't happen. And then in Baron setups. Baron setups are much harder right now with the turret lead that Genji has for Griffin than they are for Genji. Cube hits the side lane and Rise says, could I get a gank? Yes, with a gank he can do a lot. Without a gank he can't do very much. So because of that, all Sword can do is wait for the wave to be pushed in. It keeps stacking up, and it doesn't feel like a bold prediction anymore, Valdez. I think Genji are heavily favored in this game now, and only the nameplates are why Griffin has much of a chance. Whatever the gold lead says, if you got Vayne, Nico, and 3 tanks, or at least 3 champions who can control space, a 900 gold lead is like a 9,000 gold lead on your day.
And as you mentioned before, I mean, Griffin could have just banned Vayne, right? They were on red side. They banned out Kalista. They banned out Tristana. Understandable, but then they banned out Lamarck. And that's the one that we don't understand. And, well, it's going to be a fight from 2 non-junglers over the Mountain Drake. Who's going to get it in the end? Who has the burst? Looks like it's Rise as 3 Mountain Drakes go the way of Griffin.
That's what they got. They have to play around Baron. The moment you pause this game, as the Griffin coach, you say, we have to play around Baron. We have 3 Mountain Drakes and a comp that gets picks reliably around Baron. That is our win condition. It is not open team fights. So the battle lines here are really fun to notice. Everyone can see that if you see Genji pulling off the ARAM, that's what they're looking for. If you see Griffin with a control ward lead around Baron, you are so scared as Genji.
Definitely are. Well, on blue side, Genji once again are very much prioritizing with their lead all of the vision around the Baron. They don't want to have Griffin have any of it right now at all. So far, it is just that control ward in the Baron pit that does get cleaned out. The fun begins. Can Genji consider going for a similar Baron that they did in game number 1, where they kind of just hop on it? In game number 1, they had triple Ocean, which makes it a little bit easier to sustain even without that traditional tank, but this time they have a Zac and a TP's coming in. Doesn't look like they're going to start it just yet, as it looks like it was just Fly heading back into the lane.
So the answer is yes, Bud, which is obviously a frustrating answer to give you, but they want to know where Zoe is. If Zoe is low on mana or on a recall, it's possible. She's low on mana, that part is there.
Look at the Nico play in the mid lane. Yep. They're saying it's Ruler of Life in mid, but that's not true. It's actually the Nico here pretending to be Vayne, and it looks like now they're going to know about it. The vision comes down. Can Tarzan do it? Yes, he can! As he gets the steal, and a huge taunt comes out from the side of the head, but it's not enough damage on the backside. Flashes come out, and Ruler, he's going in. He wants more. Sword does a lot of damage, though. The Trouble Bubble, though, it's going to miss. But Viper has too much health alongside Toby, and that's the difference this time around. They're able to stop the onslaught, and Griffin gets the Baron.
Such a big steal where the game was. Genji trying to play around the Nico there. The catch on that one, Valdez, but it's not enough. Needed to get the smite down. Let's watch the replay. You're right, it's the impersonator in the mid lane that makes it so critical. So TP was used in this area. Who knows if it was caught? Tarzan comes in. Tarzan gets the smite. And that means that suddenly Genji have to respect a lot of the Griffin map movements, and then Vayne's under a turret, respecting Griffin's turret taking speed. That's a problem that might be too much to bear.
Definitely is, and think about all the summoners used in that one. Nico's is down, doesn't have flash. Ruler doesn't have flash or cleanse. Neither does Peanut or Life. And now they don't have the Baron. And looks like maybe Griffin have bought themselves a ticket for a game 3 here. We'll have to wait and see.
With where we think the game is going in 35 minutes, this is a let's break the base Baron. It can't just be gold. Yes, we need to find a way to get a lot with this Baron, because again, we see 3 items on Ruler. We know that every further item for Ruler and Cuvée should be almost unanswerable in a teamfight scenario, barring a Genji mistake. You can't bet on Genji mistakes. Speaking of mistakes though, Cuvée is going to find Tarzan, who just comes over. Of course, hard to say anything about Cuvée. He's pretty far behind in terms of just holding his position near an inner turret when outer turret is down. Some more turret gold to Griffin opens up a very slender gold lead. How did Griffin even find a way to take the outer mid lane turret with only a minute 20 left on Baron?
You said this had to be a base breaker. Well, so far it's only one turret. And can they get a kill on the backside? Sword has Zonia's. We're going to continue on to this one, though. Pop Blossom does come in, but Sword once again with another Zonia's comes in, but the rest of the team of Gen G makes it into position, and now they want to turn onto Lahens as Cube and Ruler do a bunch of damage. Toby's got to be careful here. Tarzan actually ults them all away. Get Fly out of position so he can't ult.
Sometimes the minimap pings mean a lot. It's a very late stay in mid lane and push down the mid lane turret ping. Griffin could have got a free mid lane outer turret, and it was at a standstill. We were talking about how do you even get this with the Baron. Instead, they try to amble down and join Sword through his double stasis. He had, I believe, the perfect timing stopwatch and his Zonia's.
Yeah.
So was able to do it twice. But that should have been time bought to try to get two turrets mid lane. Instead, it gets them nothing. And I think that's a very poor shot call from Griffin from behind.
We talked about a bit of desperation from the fans, but you don't want to see it from some of the teams that we do have here. Thankfully, for Griffin at least, it's only an Ocean Drake. This time that goes the way of Gen G. Next one going to be the Elder. So that's when things get spicy again. And you said it early on in the game, Papa. If it reads 30, 35 minutes, it's going to be happy stuff for Gen G, not so much for Griffin.
On paper, and on paper it didn't work in game number one. Really like Griffin's draft in the late game, had reliable ways to curtail Vayne, and yet he went in at the wrong time and got punched. Now, watch the minimap here. Where the minimap is, for sure, you know, Lissandra only is mid. You get mid lane turret, you get a little chunk on inner turret, and you back away. Instead, they come down to try to help the Rise, who's so far overextended, and they're chasing through the enemy jungle and through narrow chokes.
How you
where
lose
someone
to
like
Vayne,
Life-
by the way.
Exactly. The best case scenario there is you maybe take out Lissandra or the support if they're lingering for too long.
Yeah.
The best case scenario mid lane is you get two turrets. It's probably only going to be one on the replay, but I think it is just categorically wrong to chase there when you're still staring at a mid lane outer turret in 32 minutes.
Vayne loves when things get dirty, when it's one person charging at her and then the next guy comes in a little bit too late, when things are disjointed. If you have 5 members diving onto her, getting into the back line, then you have a good team fight against Vayne. You don't want to be coming in one by one trying to save your opponent that got caught by himself.
And
or your teammate, rather.
And then Griffin, what do they like? They like picks. They like early game. Those things didn't happen, but Ruler just turns on Tarzan.
Here we go again. I mean, he's going to be caught up, and Tarzan just disappears. Peanut looking for more, too. It's going to get Zoe on the top side. Gets put to sleep, but the slow comes in, and this is what we were saying. One by one, the dominoes fall as Griffin don't seem to have an answer for the Vayne. The triple kill already goes the way of Ruler.
And he's just asking, do you want to give me a penta, guys? Do you want to give me a penta? The members of Griffin can only stop the minion wave. Can they just end the game with Peanut's health bar?
They're tanking it. Okay, they need some of these minions. Okay, this is not going to work. Small Zack does come in, and very smartly, Sword and Lahen's gonna save this one, as the minions will not allow them to push.
Exactly, so no pentakill offered, but the minions being stopped, confirmed. Even with the Mars procs and the health bar, no way to stop him. Sword looking for a straggler, that straggler is not Vayne. And Vayne says, look at the timer, that's a Baron coming.
It's just so weird to see Griffin kind of scrounging here, trying to get some kills and looking a little bit disjointed. This is not what we're used to, as Gen G are the ones in full control. They're in so much control now.
They don't have 2 Mountain Drakes, but they have double Rage Blade on hit carries. The Nico was here, it doesn't matter. Baron dies in a half second. And that's all from Tarzan, overrating his tankiness. Yes, you can ult and try to reset things, but that's a conditional play. Lahens gets the memo that Tarzan does not.
It's just where I throw out my hands and I say, what the hell is going on? As certainly some mistakes are made, but you can't afford to make mistakes up against this Vayne comp.
Meanwhile, look at Fly. He holds his ult for Viper on the Lucian. He doesn't blow everything onto the Zinja because they know they don't need it.
Big wave, go, go, go. After, of course, we got him in ice. As is the standard. Coach trying to keep things calm in the booth, it looks like, as imagine Gen G in 9th place staring down the barrel of one team fight to 2-0ing Griffin.
And it happened last year. GRF beat Griffin as well in a game we never saw coming. That was GRF's last series victory before they finally won against a Freak of Freaks this year. Was their win over Griffin. Griffin are falling back into some really questionable territory, and it's around some of their strongest members as well.
You hate to see it, but it's happening right before our eyes. Toby also not quite able to pop off on the Zoe, not looking like his old self. What can you do when Ruler is this bad? You have to have that 5v5 team fight where you actually find them and take away the DPS. But it might be too little too late.
They can even play multiple lanes, almost impossible with Vayne most of the time with a lack of siege. But Nico is going to train down a turret, no one's near it. How many advantages can Griffin get on just this, and Genji can get, on just this one push?
Griffin don't even look like they can start a fight. Okay, trouble bubble onto the guy with double cleanse.
And wrong.
What are you gonna do? You gotta give everything away. The inhibitors are going down. As okay, the kidnap comes in, and Tarzan has his ult, but down he will go. And look at Ruler in the front line is gonna get two, and it doesn't look like Griffin will have enough here. As the minions are coming in, Ruler just wants the kills, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but Genji are gonna 2-0 Griffin tonight.
It's a well-deserved victory for Genji, and you can only imagine how much this means to the org, to the players, laughed at every single corner. In 2019, they're able to pick up the victory. It's through the 1v9, and the coolest thing to say about Griffin is they should have seen it coming. They knocked them over the head with it in game number 1.
I know.
And Griffin said, please, sir, can I have some more? That's not how it works, Griffin. If you ask for some more, you just straight up lose. And a famous victory for Genji that might not mean a lot for their playoff aspirations, but if it gets them away from relegations and it gets them out of their 2019 funk, it may have come 2.5 months too late. But man, will they appreciate it. What a well-deserved bow to Lolpar.
It tells you two things. It tells you that any team in the LCK on any given day can challenge even the best that we have here. And it